Welcome to Side Effects with an A. When effect is normally used, it's a noun. It's already occurred.
Effect is a verb meaning action. Action influences outcomes.
I'm Scott Mcgohan.
And I'm Anne-Marie Singleton. We will provoke you to think differently.
Side Effects, where problems are defined, solutions exposed.
All right, Side Effects.
Welcome to Side Effects. I'm Scott Mcgohan. Thank you so much for being here. We've got a great guest with us here today, Joni Fedders, the president of Aileron, who's just been an amazing gift to our community and a really, really good friend. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. I hear you're taking off, maybe on a little vacation?
Yep, we're lifting off to Lake Erie.
Good deal. The
Yeah.
whole family's going?
Whole family, including about 40 of us.
40.
So this is the 15th year our family has
Ooh.
dad from Florida, aunts, cousins, brothers, sisters, all that.
For a week?
Yeah, for a whole week.
40 relatives.
Yes.
One location.
And we've made it work.
For a week.
We've figured out how to make it work. Separate houses. is
Okay,
the answer.
good.
Yeah.
Kids and all?
Yeah, everybody.
Wow,
Yeah,
good.
we've got a lot of kids in the 20s, and they still all work around it, which is really neat. Yeah,
Yeah, well, that's fun.
yeah.
Yeah, we had our family reunion. We've only had two. So obviously there might be some dysfunction in the Mcgohan,
Yeah.
potentially.
It's hard to pull it together.
Yeah, but gosh, just the importance of family is really important.
Oh, it absolutely is. Yeah.
Well, your organization has given this community a ton, and what we wanted to talk to you about was this amazing event coming up August 29th and 30th
Yes.
called Lift.
Yes.
So, like from the highest level, like what does that do for Aileron? What does that do for businesses in our community?
We're so excited. It's amazing to see the community that has developed around the care and concern of raising up small businesses because of all the benefits that happen when that occurs as far as that. So you're surrounded by people who want to contribute and offer up their advice and their thoughts. There's people that are the business owners who are putting their capital at risk and raising that. There's the employees who are pushing us to get better and stuff. And so we wanted an opportunity to gather that community on a regular basis so that they could share ideas and kind of re-energize each other, validate what's going on, and learn some new things. And so out of that was born this concept of how do we create a space for people to gather once a year to kind of set that time aside and work with each other. And that's what Lift is.
I think the really interesting, so obviously Aileron, right? So
Yes.
in reference to flight.
Yes.
And then lift is lifting. But a lot of entrepreneurs, and one of the greatest gifts that Aileron brings is the fact that a lot of entrepreneurs, unfortunately, sometimes aren't willing to be real vulnerable. And when we're vulnerable, we learn the most. They say life's a wonderful teacher and she rarely gets an apple on her desk. And I see Aileron as just this place where we can maybe get a bushel of apples that we don't have to take a bite out of.
Yeah.
So when we've got great leaders that are willing to share, hey, this is where I made mistakes, this is where I failed, this is where I succeeded, and it's just an opportunity to share. So what I loved about Lift was it was just a dichotomy of just different subjects. So we talk about this 2-day event,
Right.
so they can register online. So if you're interested,
Absolutely.
so they go to your website,
Yes.
you register,
Absolutely.
aileron.org.
Right on the front banner is the Lift link up at the top and also just across the banner, yeah.
Then also on www.healthierbirthdays.com, we'll put the Lift information, the schedule, how to register, and don't forget, it's coming up really soon, August 29th and 30th. And they asked us to MC.
Yes,
Why?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I'm not sure either,
Yeah.
but we're gonna have fun. We're gonna have to
I
figure
think
out
we
how
have
to do it.
Yeah, I think we'll have a
Talk
great
about being
time.
vulnerable.
I know.
Okay,
I
yeah.
know. So maybe this is practice.
Yeah, hopefully people don't walk out.
Gotcha. I don't think so.
Okay.
The place is too nice.
Yeah, that's true.
It is.
They could go get coffee
They
while we're
could.
speaking, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's a beautiful place.
it is.
And hopefully the content is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
So if we fail, but the content, people will stay. Let's
Yeah.
hope.
We have the right to fail.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we look at all the different subjects that we're going to be talking about, the first one is how to exit on top. So a lot of entrepreneurs, unfortunately, maybe, quite frankly, stay in the business too long. So as we talk about, and you've probably seen owners that have done that.
Yeah.
So if we talk about the experts that are going to just be talking about that.
Yeah, it's going to be a great session. I've always been fascinated and someone about the transition that's occurring in our marketplace. And the other day, someone gave me a statistic that in the next 10 years, 80% of the small businesses will go through some form of transition, whether it be a sale or to the next generation or change in leadership, and we're seeing it everywhere. And what's really been neat is to see how people are using the DOC framework to make that transition, to talk about culture, to talk about strategy, to talk about the people development process and how we're going to make that transition. And Ed Epley always starts the course for presidents with kind of a zinger question that kind of takes people to step back and pause, and that is, what is your exit plan? And these are people that came because they're talking about growing and scaling a business. And when they get asked that question, because he says that's what makes the difference at the end of the day, is you got to think about that so you know how to grow it, so you know how to build it.
Yeah, the
So
greatest
that's gonna be
asset and the experience I've gotten from Aileron was, if your business can't run without you, you have a personality. You don't have a business,
Yes.
which hurts some people.
Yeah, and there's a lot of businesses out there that I think are stuck because they haven't figured out how to make it beyond them.
Mhm.
So if they do step out of the business, the customers won't stay. So there's not a lot of value in the business that they can pass on.
Yeah,
to
so some of the
themselves.
things too that you'll hear in this session, which I really appreciate. It doesn't matter how old you are as a business owner. I mean, it is really, really important. So the second session is leveraging opportunity in challenging situations. So this is probably the bushel of apples from leaders talking about, this is how we made big giant. What's an example of maybe a challenging situation?
Well, I think the one that I notice a lot is that a lot of leaders, business owners as well, lead from a place of fear that they're going to let people down, fear that they're not going to be able to make it, and they're not really open and even to themselves about what that's actually causing the stress inside. So it's becoming more aware of what those thoughts are,
Yeah.
and how you go to a different level of thought, more of a win-win. And you can see it when people shift from a level of fear thought to a level of opportunity thought, and what that brings from an energy perspective. And as we know, leaders project an energy, whether you know it or not. And so that's what this session is really about, is how do we move to, how can you change your thoughts to lead from a higher level of
Yeah.
energy?
And then the next one, which I really like, which is led by Wes Geip,
Yeah.
who might be one of my favorite people,
Mine too.
is building team impact through authenticity. And he's just such an authentic person. So and it's one of the things I really appreciate and adore about him, is he's not afraid to talk about where he's made mistakes.
And he has a great lineup, I think. Yeah, he's always open about his mistakes. And some of the, I think he has 3 business owners that he's going to kind of interview and talk through. And I know many of them, especially one of the stories is someone who is a G2 and is working with their father alongside to make that transition, and just the challenges that have gone through that. And how does she become authentic, and how she wants to lead when it's not in line with her dad's, and how does she stay respectful and grateful but make that transition?
I know her. So
Good.
I'm a G2 that came underneath
You
my
are a
father
G2.
as well.
Yeah.
And it's different. It doesn't make it bad, doesn't make it great. It's just different. And hearing that from somebody is just really important. The next day we break into Loren Feldman, really good friend of yours.
Yes.
So who is he and what does he do?
So Loren Feldman is wonderful. We met him in New York a couple years ago when he worked for the New York Times. And you could just feel his passion for a small business. And his goal, as he described it, was to give small business a voice in the community. And he's with obviously a large media. He's since then switched to Forbes and has worked with us and has invited us to bring stories to the table of our business owners and their teams and the challenges that they face. And so we've had the opportunity to blog and do video with Forbes with him. But he's coming in because he really loves to hear the stories and spend the time. And he's going to do a couple things throughout the day. But one of the things is he's going to talk to Clay and Mike Mattil about the transition that they went through,
Oh, yeah.
and just how they learned to personally change their relationship and how they work through things, how they've transferred leadership roles amongst that. And I've had the privilege of seeing that story play out since I've been at Aileron for 14 years and watched and been able to participate in that. But it's just a really fascinating insight story to get.
Well,
a
thanks
chance
for
to do.
bringing awareness to our region with Forbes. And I've met him, and he's a terrific
He
guy.
is.
and what a gift. And you're exactly right. So we'll talk with Clay and Mike both, and
Yep.
that'll be exciting. And then we have an author, so Bo Burlingham, and I've read a little bit about his book. And one of the things that we have is Small Giants.
Yes.
So we'll talk about what that looks like. And he said a couple of interesting things in here. One is share a higher purpose, which I really liked. And then number 2 is remind people unexpected ways how much the company cares about them. And number 3 is build a culture of congeniality, which is just amazing. But what I loved about the whole premise of what he's going to talk about is the fact of this gift of entrepreneurship, and the companies he represents in his book talk about companies that believe in private enterprise, that they don't want to sell, that they love the gift, that they can resonate with it with the community. He calls it the Mona Lisa principle, which I adore.
Yeah.
And Aileron is our Mona Lisa in our community.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. So I'm really excited about that. And then we kind of transfer into millennials as great leaders, which is really interesting. Who's leading that?
So Nick Cirilla is leading that.
Yeah, and he's written a book called A Slice of the Pie, and also just a really dynamic leader.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the word millennials. I don't like the word.
Yeah.
I think people picked on my generation and said that I wouldn't be as bold and as strong as my dad, and you know what? I think our generation has done well, and I have a lot of millennials that work here that I adore, that act like baby boomers. I have baby boomers that act like millennials.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying they're people.
Yeah.
Period.
And I think I would agree with you. I'm not sure I like the segmentation, because again, then it's a stereotype, right? As far as how it goes. I think what he's really getting at is the dynamics of culture and how different people bring different pieces. And if you think about this shift in leadership from autocratic to collaborative, and what's the shift going on and being brought, it's being brought by many people, not just a certain segment of the market. But I think that's what's really going to be interesting to get down is to talk about that.
How intentional they are with technology and how they adapt to technology. The biggest thing I see in this newer generation is their desire to be on purpose. And if you're a leader that doesn't understand that, then you're probably dead in the water.
Yeah.
So as a business leader, you've got to, one, attract a good workforce, produce a good product, but most of all, you've got to really sell a dream to people.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Nick will talk about. Then we'll have real stories from a lot of Aileron members. They'll talk about maybe where they've won, where they've lost.
Yes, we have actually 4 business owners that are going to share their story and trials, tribulations, and also success in a short format so that they can get across a couple points, and then after lunch you're going to get a chance to go see tools that align to help them in those stories, specific tools that you could walk away. Because I think if anything we've learned is those who do the work do the learning. And so what it seems like a lot of people really value when they're working at Aileron is it's a space and facilitation and tools that they're actually working on what they need to be working on, and out of that they draw the learning pieces of it. So that's what that session will be like.
And then the next session will just be like tools around that. So here are stories, right? And here are some tools and resources that you can deploy in your own business.
Absolutely.
And then the very last session is transitioning successfully.
Absolutely.
Which kind of comes up, how do I exit on top? That could be more around role clarity. How do I transition successfully?
Absolutely.
Which is also really, really, really important.
And transition really affects many people, and so that the whole 2 days is really designed for small privately held businesses or leaders or organizations to come and explore all these different topics, because you're feeling it whether you're big, small, nonprofit pieces, but it's also that you can come as a team. And so there's a lot of this directed at anybody that's kind of pulling this through, and so many of the people coming are bringing their team so that they work through this together, because transition affects many people. It's not just the business owner.
You're exactly right. And you do a great job of teaching people how to look at how to build a creative team, right?
Yeah.
And then how to pick the right people to transition. And some of those conversations are really, really, really hard.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, then we get to wrap it up with elevating your professional management journey, which is your gift that you've given to a lot of leaders. So I went through that journey maybe 15 years ago, but I didn't drink the Kool-Aid the first time I went through. I didn't. It could be arrogance. It could have been the fact that I was immature. But I jumped into the deep end of the pool about 10 years ago. And I was just, I was young. I was going to say I'm a kid. I wasn't a kid 10 years ago, but I was younger. What I love about Aileron, what you've been able to do is I just surrendered my ego and pride and went out there and just said, hey, look, I want to be a better person. And what Aileron's done for us is the fact that it's just made me, it's made me a better dad. It's made me a better husband. It's made me certainly a better leader. Because my ego, I want to be liked, but I think what's really interesting, Aileron gave me the gifts of wanting to be trusted, and they're different. And they're different. And you need that skill set. And so Lift is not just for business owners or just for C-suite people.
Right.
It's for everyone. And what's really important, I think, for all of you is the listeners out there, the people exploring this, is you've got to make sure you're investing back in yourself. The problems will always be on your desk, and the white and the red light will always be beeping. But if you don't surrender and just sit back and just soak in some really smart people that have learned the hard way, then you're probably not going to change. And if you just keep getting what you got, then stay where you're at.
Yeah.
But if you want to invest in your life and your future, I think it's just an amazing opportunity to just say, I'm going in the deep in the pool, and I'm bringing my people with me.
Absolutely. And the campus is a great place to do that with. And if you can't make it to Lift this year, we plan on doing this year after year. But there's other ways to get engaged with Aileron. We've got small, virtual ways to connect, because we work with people from around the country. Really, 60% of our people the people that use Aileron come from Ohio, but 40% come around the country. So we've got people traveling in all over the place. But if you can't make it, there's lots of ways to engage with Aileron, and you can check those out at the website. But it's taking that first step.
Well, I hope long-term this is an event that, one, can be birthed in Dayton.
Absolutely.
And an asset that a lot of business leaders and owners and entrepreneurs and, by golly, just people that just want to learn and invest back in themselves. So I hope it's something we just continually repeat. Thanks for asking me to MC. So I'm excited about that.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks for your gift that you give back to the community and all the people at Aileron. So we will put the information on Lift on healthierbirthdays.com. Don't forget to check out Aileron's website at aileron.org and all the information about Lift. If you have any questions, you can call me, Scott Mcgohan, 293-1600, area code 937. And I can tell you, I promise you, it'll be worth every penny you spend. It's a big deal. Most importantly, because you're a big deal and you're important. And we want to make sure we're investing back in people. Thank you for joining Side Effects. Have a great day, and hopefully we see you on the 29th and 30th. Thanks for listening and opening your mind. If you're interested in learning more, you can reach us at scott@healthierbirthdays.com.
Or Ann at healthierbirthdays.com. We hope you'll join us next time
on Side Effects.